Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morgan, around the Motor City Bad Mouth. We got 5. We might eventually have 6, and we won't have 7. Mel Farr is off for the night, but hopefully we'll get him back on Saturday for the battle royal between him and Marvin. If we don't have him on for Saturday, of course, Ben, you can come on either way if these guys are, and we'll bring you on either way. We'll have a 3-way battle. Who cares? We'll bring him on Saturday if he wants to come on. I got plenty of good hay to throw your way. All right, so there you go. And by the way, I did win a ribbon over at Toastmasters today for doing the speech for 7 minutes and 45 seconds that I wasn't even prepared for. That I didn't prepare in advance. I just winged it off the top of my head like Candy does with her fire-up show. So there you go. Tommy's in the house. Welcome, Mr. Shanahan.
How's it going?
All right, we got the Candy Woman.
Glad to be here talking my favorite sport with some of my favorite people.
All right, and we got Marvin.
Hey, it's a great day to be a Trojan. Beat TCU.
There you go. That's a pretty interesting game to watch later on. I'm glad we only have one show. I might catch that one. And last but not least, Ben Troop.
Man, always a pleasure to be on. Mel, if Mel is out, he's out. But if it's because of Marvin and I come on Saturday, I'm gonna be like, Mel, where were you? Like for real, like where were you on Tuesday night? Put location on your phone so we can see where you are.
Well, you know what? We're going to bring you on Saturday no matter whether he shows up or not, because I have a feeling it's going to get interesting. I'm going to make sure if I have to fine-tune those topics, I have a 3-ring circuits. I don't care. It don't make any difference. Oh, we're having 3 on there. What the hell is the difference? All right. Let's get to the business. I know Ben is going to be in and out of here on time doing what you got to do, but we're going to start out with this one. And that's this, okay? Lee Corso says he can't watch College Game Day and hates retirement. He says that he misses a flying around the country doing the show and he says in plain words, retirement sucks. To this guy's credit, though, if you're an older guy and you've been doing it a long time and now all of a sudden he's been forced to retire, I can see where, Tommy, it might be a little bit of a come down for Lee. I really can.
Yeah, if he really misses it that much, it's understandable. What can they do to make him part of the show? You don't want him alive because he's getting older and
right.
He stumbles a lot. But maybe they can do some kind of video thing with him, recorded.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in his 80s. I understand that he's had health issues and all that. So I understand that he had to retire, but you can't. I mean, he's a hard guy not to miss with those little.
It's a common story. It's a common story among coaches and other professions. The guys that they don't have hobbies or that they don't fish, they don't golf, whatever. When they retire, they don't last very long.
Yeah. All right, we got Skates 24/7. What's going on? We're going on. All right. All right, Candy, your thoughts about Lee Corso?
Well, just to give you a little background, Scott, he's actually 90. So
wow, was he 90? Wow.
He is 90, yes. He was born in Illinois. He's had a long coaching career as well as a head coaching career. And now, he's been broadcasting on College Game Day since its inception back in 1987. To give you an idea, that's the year I'm going to age myself now, but that's the year I graduated high school back in 87. What a long time that he's been doing the same job, but kudos to him because he loved it. And when you love what you do, it's not really a job. And so when he was forced to retire due to health issues, I can see where that would be hard and he missed because he loved doing it. That's why he did it for as long as he did. I would hope that there would be some way that they could bring him back on the show, even if it isn't to all of the different venues, but at least maybe to some of them. His last show, he got to a lot of the teams he coached for, he represented on the last show. So it was cool. But kudos to him for doing what he loved for as long as he did. Let's hope they can find a way to get him back in there in some capacity.
See, I'm dealing with the onset of Alzheimer's disease. And the one thing that they tell me is you got to have an active mind to prolong this thing. You really do. And the thing that's important, as I mentioned this, is when I had a grandmother that lived until she was like 90, I would go over there to see her from time to time and keep her active. The more you keep senior citizens active, the fresher their mind is. And Ben, that's what worries me about Corso is he wants to be active, but yet we know that he can't deal with the rigors of the travel, and he does make mistakes. So you're in a kind of like a catch-22, and I really feel for the guy because I haven't been able to drive as much as what do I got, Katie? Like 1,600 miles on a Honda Odyssey, and I'm used to driving 1,600 miles to me than you actually have. It's tough. Yeah, more participants so far. Yeah. But it is what it is. What's the topic? What are you guys talking about? Stay tuned, Grand. Okay, go ahead. I wonder if there's some implication there, Candy, of what I think it is. But go ahead, Ben. Pick it up from there.
I would say this about Lee Corso. Most people in their profession are really, really good. They've had really, really great moments. Most people are not the greatest. He is the greatest. And technology has come way too far for you not to find something for him to do on game day. You could do something because he's earned that. I give Kirk Herbstreit a lot of credit. They said that Kirk Herbstreit said, look, as long as he want to come on this set, I'm going to sit right next to him, and I'm going to give him all I can give him, and I'm going to help him. How many people are living to be 90, period? Let alone, man, I retired at 90 or 89 or whatever it is.
Right.
He's old, Dad. And, like
We're having some technical difficulties, Ben.
I think Ben's having some technical difficulties with his internet.
Yeah, it is. Well,
Take over, Marvin.
I'm happy, Candy, that you brought up that he used to coach because a lot of this generation doesn't realize that. It reminds me of LL Cool J. LL Cool J is a famous rapper who's now in media. My daughter was watching him recently, and I told her, yeah, he used to be a rapper. She was like, what? Lee Corso was a head coach, man. He was a football coach for a long time before he got in media. A lot of people don't realize that. What a blessing to get to be 90, number one, and to be in your 80s, being relevant, so many years after your coaching career is over, to build a second career, not just build it, but as Ben was saying, to build it to be the best, to be the best at what you do, to be known. People today know him for putting that hat on, sitting there on stage, picking which game's going to win, which team's going to win, putting on the headgear, people going crazy. Personally, I know him as the guy who 16 times when he was at the LA Coliseum for a USC game, he picked USC to win. And 16 times he was absolutely correct putting on his Tommy Trojan hat. He's a legend, man. I mean, this is the guy that you aspire to be in this industry. He's had impact. He's had longevity. And, this is a guy who has really branded himself as a part of college football. So I hated to see Lee go. I bet you, he's missing it because it became a part of his identity, and just who he was. And, at that point, at this point in life, when you're hitting 90 in your 80s, I got to believe that you're not doing things for money. You're doing it because you love it. And he loved what he did. And you saw it, all the fans see it. The passion with him is real. And, he's someone who's missed. And, I bet it is hard for him to watch it. It is. It's hard for me to watch it without him, to be honest with you, because he's been such a staple there. Lee Corso is absolutely one of the best, and I hope he knows that he will be missed.
Yeah, he will. All right, so Ben has actually lost his feed. Hopefully, we'll get him back. So we'll go in with an easy topic, which should really be more of a rapid fire topic, and then we'll go from there. The New Orleans Bowl actually had its 25th anniversary, and it actually generates an estimated economic impact of over $20 million annually. Tom, you ever been in New Orleans, by the way? That's a good little bowl game.
No, I haven't been to New Orleans.
You haven't?
I have not.
It's a place you got to get to, man. I've been there a lot of times. Cool place, Bourbon Street. Any thoughts about the 25th anniversary of this particular bowl game? Because it is a good bowl game. with the Sun Belt Conference and as well. I've actually been to it before when I covered FAU against Memphis and Rusty Smith and Howard Schnellenberger there, and FAU went out there and came away with a win. It's a good little bowl game for a lot of them are coming and going, but not this one.
Yeah, well, 25 years ago was before all the proliferation of bowls that have kind of watered it down so much that people don't really like bowl games. So it has a legitimate history. And then, of course, it's in a city that's used to putting on big events. So that, I'm sure, helps with the operation. They don't have problems putting everything together. But, yeah, I think the best thing to remember about that is it has a 25-year history. And I don't know, maybe it was around 2010, maybe 2005, ESPN started putting bowls just about everywhere just to have a TV show. Right. That's when that kind of cheapened the bowl game experience. But at New Orleans Bowl, it's not the Sugar Bowl, but it's got a legitimate history.
Yeah, it really is. Let alone the fact I think that actually sets up the bowl games later on. So this is a bowl game that actually has a little bit of backing to it, and it produced a pretty good opponent. So what are your thoughts, Candy, about the New Orleans Bowl? Obviously, you've been to the Caesars Superdome for the Super Bowl experience there.
The New Orleans Bowl was first played, and it's been played annually since 2001. Yes, it's been played at the Caesars Superdome. It moved the year that Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, and it temporarily moved to Cajun Field in Lafayette, Louisiana. The most appearances through December 2025. First was Louisiana. Second is Southern Miss. Third is North Texas. Then Troy, Appalachian State, Western Kentucky, and Georgia Southern, and it goes down from there. Yeah, but New Orleans, when we went to New Orleans, it was the first time. We went there for the Super Bowl. We did all the pre, and we got to get into the Caesar Dome, and it was cool. I've been to a couple of different NFL stadiums. Obviously, there's ones that are my favorite, but Caesars is up there. It's a pretty cool bowl game or venue.
Marvin?
25 years ago, wow. 25 years ago, I was traded from the New Orleans Saints to Candy's Green Bay Packers. And I'm going to tell you what, it's a special city. I was there in 99. I really loved it. Met my wife out there. And I'm happy to hear that they're having the impact they're having on the city. The city really hasn't been the same since Hurricane Katrina. And everybody in that city on every level can use that money. It's a great city. Tom, if you haven't been to New Orleans, man, it's a great place to visit, great place for an event, great place for a long weekend. They treat you right. There's real Southern hospitality down there. And, I'm not surprised that bowl game has thrived down there. And, I'm happy that the city is getting those kind of opportunities. But, yeah, great bowl game. Nowadays we have 100 bowl games. When I was a kid, when I was growing up, we didn't have that many of them. And I know, Scott, when you and Tom were coming up, he was even less than that, great. It's a great football event, great football city. And I hope they continue on with their tradition of bringing teams in there and just giving people good football.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, this is a good little bowl game. They brought out a lot of bowl games that don't last that long, but this one here matches a couple quality opponents, and the game's pretty competitive every year. So we're not going to have Ben on for the last two topics that we had. I think we started with the bowl game and college game day. If he comes on later, we'll accommodate him on Corso. But let's continue on because this is another interesting topic. And Candy, you might have to do a little bit of research on this one. Okay, when you compare Jahmyr Gibbs versus Saquon Barkley, Gibbs ended up having 5.8 yards per touch, 920 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Barkley had actually 779 yards and 6 touchdowns. I need you to update those numbers when you go out there and compare these two running backs, Candy.
Okay.
And while we're doing that, Tommy, what are your thoughts when you compare and contrast Gibbs and Saquon Barkley?
Well, Gibbs started out the year great and it was getting a lot of attention. And then the Lions season went downhill, but his production has remained pretty steady. but they don't have the passing game to go with it like they did last year. Barkley, didn't he start out slowly? But I think he's been reliable, especially without a passing game to take the pressure off the running game.
Right.
There's still two great backs, but the results have been mixed for both teams. With both teams have been up and down, but I don't think their play has been pretty solid as always.
So let me go back to those stats again. We talked about Gibbs having 5.8 yards per touch, and Barkley had 4.4 yards per touch as well. And we go back, and this is when I had gotten it a little while ago. That's why Candy's doing some more research. But at that time, Gibbs had 920 yards versus 10 TDs. Barkley, 4.4, 779 and 6 TDs. Candy, all right, what are the new numbers?
So on 200 for Jahmyr Gibbs, on 224 attempts, his total yards is 1,143. Yards per attempt is 5.1, and he has 13 rushing touchdowns. I'm going to also add that he has 583 yards receiving with 4 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, on 280 rushing attempts, he has 1,140 yards, so 3 yards less. And his yards per attempt is 4.1, but his touchdowns are much less. Jahmyr has 13. Saquon only has 7 rushing. And then on the receiving side, Saquon only has 273 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Jahmyr beats him on rushing touchdowns and receiving touchdowns, and rushing yards and receiving yards. All 4 of those categories, Jahmyr beats Saquon.
So, Katie, you rambled off those stats, which is good. But if you had to pick one or the other, which one are you leaning with?
Well, especially if you're playing fantasy, I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay, that's a good answer. All right, Marvin.
Yeah, what I love about these guys, and I'll lead with Saquon, is, we're in a day and age where we're playing the spread offense. The NFL's doing it too, if you want to be honest. And, we've the narrative is that we've gotten away from the running back and how important the running back is. I grew up in a day where the offense went through the running back. The quarterback was the second dude. The running back was everything. You know what I'm saying? So Saquon reminds me of those old school backs, guys who he's not sharing time with anybody. He's the guy. He's the lead offense. If you want to talk about Jalen Hurts and his success and just, what's happening with the Eagles offensively and any of their success, you have to start with Saquon. And, when you talk about he only has seven touchdowns, Candy, I'm a blocking fullback who had 1 carry for 1 yard in his career. So 7 touchdowns is Hall of Fame to me compared to what I was doing,
Right.
He's the man, though. Saquon really gives that offense an opportunity with his presence. And I love to see, both Saquon and Jahmyr able to operate old school, like a Roger Craig, a guy who was tough, running the ball in the middle, had great speed, but also can kill you in the passing game and the receiving game. That's what these two guys really represent. Saquon's a guy who is on track for the Hall of Fame. I think at the end of his career, when you look at, what he's been doing, his numbers, at the end of the day, he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Jahmyr Gibbs, man, amazing player. His stats speak volumes. It's funny how he's averaging over 5 yards a carry. So what does that mean? You give him the ball every play, and he's gonna get 5 yards every time and have a first down in 2 plays. I mean, it's remarkable when you consider that when he's in the game, when Jahmyr Gibbs is in the game, the defense knows he's the threat. They realize he's the guy that can beat you on the inside, beat you on the outside, beat you in the pass game with the wheel route. I mean, he's explosive. So I love watching him play, and I love what he brings to the game. He's sharing time in the backfield with Montgomery, unlike Saquon. But Gibbs is definitely a guy who I think can carry the load and be that single back. The numbers, the discrepancy there between the two of them don't really mean a lot to me because at the end of the day, with Saquon especially, he's a game breaker anytime you give him the ball. There's potential for him to take it 80 yards every single time. So don't let those numbers fool you.
Okay, Ben, we're going to get you caught up a little bit. How's that? All right. First of all, give me a rapid fire on Lee Corso. I know you were on to some before you ran into technical problems. Finish your thought there.
No, I think Lee Corso, simple and plain, we have come too far technologically to not be able to make sure a 90-year-old can come on. Come on, man. Peyton Manning ain't never been on no set, him or Eli, right? And they've been in media now for the last 2 or 3 years. Lee Corso deserves an opportunity to be on game day. I don't care. He said that he was leaving. He's earned the right to change his mind. Let's find a way to get him on there. And look, if he's in his home, walking around, talking about the games, he's earned that. And I think the world will want to see that.
Okay, next thing you talk about New Orleans Bowl. You ever played in it? I know it's a good little bowl game though, and it's a pretty competitive one.
I have not played in the New Orleans Bowl, but I have played in the Sugar Bowl. Played in the Sugar Bowl my freshman year. But the consolation prize was the 2000 Miami Hurricane. So it got real ugly, real fast. When you talk about Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne and Clinton Portis and Andre Johnson and Jeremy Shockey. I'm just talking about Al Blaze and Ed Reed. That team they were cheating. That's how good that team was. I don't remember much about the game, but I do remember being on Bourbon Street getting in a fight with Miami. I don't know who I hit. I just know I didn't get hit and my face didn't show it. So that's the only action I gave all week, just being in a fight on Bourbon Street.
Okay, now we'll go to the next topic since we got John here for that one. I know you're going to have to get off for a few minutes, so we'll just juggling these around to get you as many reps as we can on these. So the other one we're talking about here, why don't you just compare and contrast Jahmyr Gibbs and Saquon Barkley? Who would you rather have? Which one would you rather have?
Oh, my God. I mean, you talk about 1A and 1A. Who would I rather have?
Yeah.
Who? I would rather have Saquon because of how much he scares defenses. But for longevity, I'd rather have Jahmyr because Jahmyr has been really, really, really productive and he shares the rock. And that's the new thing, right? That elongates your career. And he's been, I mean, people forget Jahmyr Gibbs is 23 years old. He's only been in the league 3 years. I think he got almost 60 touchdowns or something. He's very productive. The thing about Saquon, I mean, you talking about built in a lab. My God. I mean, I remember his days at Penn State. I echo what Marvin said. Pure running back, give me Saquon. Just pure running back. But longevity and being able to get the most, I want a lot of production, but I don't want to have to give you the bulk load of the carries. I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs because Jahmyr Gibbs is like the second coming of Alvin Kamara. That's how he plays. Real slashy, right? And Georgia Tech, you recruited him out of high school and you let him leave to go to Alabama. What are you doing? You had Jahmyr Gibbs on your team. But this is one of those situations. Somebody asking you, do you want a ribeye or do you want a filet mignon? You can't go wrong with either one, right? It's 1A and 1A. So I would take Saquon because I don't think I would ever pick any running back over Saquon. It's not even Derrick Henry, and I know what he means to do. But Jahmyr Gibbs, man, you talk about a guy that say, just give me half the carries. He hurts you in 3 ways, Jahmyr Gibbs. In the run game, in the pass game, and in the screen game. He can hurt you bad. Right. But Saquon, he might be listening to Saquon. You know I would take you, right? You Saquon Barkley. Let's stop playing games. A 2,000-yard rusher, Saquon Barkley. But love both of them.
You know what you sound like right now? You sound like a yo-yo. You got me confused. Who you want now?
I will take Saquon. If I'm a GM, I'm not gonna be the GM for the Giants. I don't know why he still got his job. I'm keeping Saquon on my team, and he's gonna be Barry Sanders. You're gonna have to retire from football. Because I'm never letting you go. Ever. I'm telling Saquon the same thing I told my wife. You don't got to like it, but we're going to be together forever. You don't got to like it. We're going to be right there together. I'm just telling you. That's how it goes.
Eddie, thanks for the birthday greetings. This guy got me upside down. Please. All right. But I love him for a reason. He still got me confused about who he wants because he goes
Saquon.
Right. So I'm going to have to, am I going to have to put on that thing? Who is that? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Who's the guy that hosted Regis Philbin? Is that your final answer? Saquon?
That is my final answer, unless I can phone a friend, and the friend I'm going to phone is Marvin. If I can phone a friend, I'm going to call somebody. That way it wasn't my decision alone.
Well, as you should, man. No, is your friend because he's not on tonight. So he's the one you phone. Marvin, you got him here. I'm kidding with you. Yeah, it's great. That's pretty fun. I love the camaraderie that he's got. Yeah, you know what? Eddie Gibbs is pretty darn good. He really is another Alabama guy that's done pretty well. All right, so you have to get off in 6 minutes. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna start you on this segment, and then we'll turn it around with everybody else. So obviously, there's a report that Texans quarterback Arch Manning will take a pay cut next season to support the Longhorns' pursuit of a national title. I think it's refreshing that he's willing to do it. But keep in mind that at the beginning of October, they were out of the top 25 entirely. It took 5 weeks for this to happen. The previous record was 12 weeks by USC in 2012. The Longhorns have a date, obviously, with Michigan in the Cheez-It Bowl in Orlando on Wednesday. Okay, Tommy, how would you size up this whole thing with Arch Manning, first of all?
I hope he's on top of his game against Michigan and beats them badly. It sounds like Tom Brady. Tom Brady always took less money to spread the money around on the roster for the team's benefit, and so I like it. I'm still confused on how a college quarterback is worth $5 million. And Marvin, I know you. I don't have to argue with you that these guys should be paid money, but who set the scale that Arch Manning is worth $5 million and the Duke quarterback is worth $4 million? It's just all screwed up. He's got. If he wants to win, he's got to have offensive linemen around him. He's got to have receivers. They had a running back that's entered the portal. So if he's spreading the money around, he's being wise.
All right, Ben, since you have to leave, go ahead and give me your 2 cents and working around rotation.
Arch Manning knows he's going to be the number 1 overall pick no matter when he comes out. He knows I'm going to be the number 1 pick no matter when I come out. My last name is Manning. Can a Manning actually take a pay cut for real? Like, is that even real at this point? Arch Manning is getting whatever Archie Manning was going to leave him in his will. That's what he's getting in NIL. Hey, man. Grandpa, what would you give me? I was giving you $5 million. Okay, well, I will say this about Arch Manning. He understands branding, and he understands tradition, and he understands legend. He wants to be a legend. How do you become a legend? What do they call Vince Young? They call him VY the Legend because he won against that legendary Rose Bowl. It was legendary, Marvin. It was star-studded top to bottom. But Arch Manning, he wants to be known for what he did on the field, not his last name. Right now, it's his last name. It's not what he's doing on the field. He wants to walk away potentially an SEC champion, a college football national champion, and he get to add some bucks. So I applaud the young man. He understands business. Don't let him fool you. He's been going to the Manning School of Business his whole life. And he's just showing, hey, fellas, I could give y'all a couple of dollars. It's cool. My grandfather won't even let me pay for the check when I go play or when we go eat. So shout out to Arch. But this is business. And he's doing it better than anybody else.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't you take care of what you got to take care of and pop in when you are available again. All right.
I'll see you guys in a second.
You better. Thanks. All right, Marvin, take it from there.
Well, let me start off responding to Mr. Tom Shanahan here. Whether it's Michigan State or USC, there's no group that brings money to the university like the football team. Period, point blank. All right. And when you look at the football team and you look, what do you need for your football team to be relevant? It's a quarterback. And when you bring it in hundreds of millions of dollars every single year, and we get the okay from Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh that, yeah, we can pay these guys because these guys are bringing in so much money into business, you got to pay your quarterback. And if it's $5 million, that's what it is. That's just what it is. And that number is going to go up. Listen, if they're operating on some type of internal cap at Texas and they're talking to Arch Manning about, what they can pay these guys and what the roster is going to look like, it's smart for him to want to take less money if they're in a situation so he can improve his team and improve that roster. You know what I'm saying? Texas went 9-3 this year. They were predicted to be a playoff team and even further than that. Everybody's been on Arch Manning to be the next Golden Boy, the next Peyton Manning, the next Eli, even though I don't think they're the same quarterback. And what you see is Arch Manning basically saying, I need help. I want to win. And, I want us to get past this, get over this non-playoff hump. So, yeah, I'm happy he did it. I think it speaks to his leadership. I think it speaks to his level of awareness. He's also not broke. You know what I mean? His situation that he came out of is a little bit different than a lot of his teammates with what they came out of. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense, and I get it. And in a day and age where you're hearing so many people bash the players for the money and all that stuff, which is hypocritical, because in America, all we talk about is getting money. Why shouldn't they be able to get money? But in a day and age where that's what it is, I'm happy to see him do what he did. And I'm not a fan of Texas, but I do support this kid. I like how he carries himself for the most part. I think it's tough being the son of Cooper, being the nephew of Eli and Peyton. I think and the grandson of Archie. I think it's much tougher than people realize. But this is his leadership and his humility and him realizing that they need to win games.
Candy?
Yes. Arch Manning is obviously the lineage that he comes from. Everybody knows about. So there's added pressure just for that. But kudos to him to be smart enough to know that he didn't have the season that everybody thought he might. So let's not go out. Let's not try and go into the NFL now. Let's face it. If he went into and no offense, but if he went into the NFL now, where is he going to be drafted? Is it a place he wants to be drafted? Because let's face it, if you're going number one, you're going to the worst team in the league, which right now, kudos to the Raiders, I believe that is. And is that where he'd want to go? Or the Jets? So staying another year, getting his stock up to be the best at the best of the best. He knows that he needs people to throw to. He needs other people on that team. So taking the pay cut now, which he probably doesn't even need the money. Let's face it, he's 21 years old and making $5 million. Like, right. We all could just say, wow, at 21, what were we doing, I just hope that with all of this NIL money that we are throwing these young students, and yes, they're supposed to be students because they're going to college, that we're giving them the financial resources to help them with the money, and so they keep the money and they're not throwing it all out on let's say, I want to buy Powerball tickets because I want to win exponentially money. But kudos to him, because really to know that he needs another year of college before going into the NFL, as the NFL game is a different game. So kudos to him for staying. Kudos for him taking a little bit less money so they can spread the money around so he can get better weapons, which can only help his case.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm like you, Candy. I'm glad that Arch Manning is going to come back for another year and to get a little bit more experience with Texas. And if he's willing to take a few dollars less, more power to him. I don't think he's ready to make it to the NFL. I give Quinn Ewers a lot of credit that he's doing a pretty decent job with Miami. He has a chance to actually do well, but that'll be for another day. We'll welcome Stephen Reichel to the show. So we'll go ahead on to some NFL topics now that Stephen has popped in here. And we're going to sauce it up with a little bit with Sauce Gardner, okay? And that's this. When the Colts traded for Sauce Gardner, Carly Ursay-Gordon had a simple message. Do you want to Band-Aid it or fix it long term? Tommy, what are your thoughts about her approach towards acquiring Sauce Gardner?
Well, it looked like a great move. He's injured now, right? But it turns out Indiana has a lot more holes in their roster than we thought. Taylor's had a great year. But once Daniel Jones got hurt, everything fell apart. And they were riding high. So there must be a lot more holes on that roster than just quarterback.
Right. Candy?
It proves that the quarterback is such an important position. And if you put all your stock into the number one quarterback and he goes down, what do you have to support it? But kudos to her for making the move, because she's just not making the move for this year. She's making the move for the future and hoping, instead of just rebuilding all of it, she can rebuild it a little bit here, a little bit there.
So, Steve, what are your thoughts about the Sauce Gardner move with Carly, the way she went out there and said, I'd rather go ahead and fix it long term than put a Band-Aid on top of it?
You sure it's not a Band-Aid? Because I mean, obviously he got hurt. Obviously, since his rookie year, he hasn't had this major impact. Marvin would know better than most. He's probably seen him more than all of us over the last few years. I think when the trade got announced, Marvin was pretty happy considering the return they got on it. So it puts his team in a great position to do some things. But on the other side of it, I mean, obviously, you never like to see, you go make a move and then literally all the other wheels, the lug nuts start falling off, and this Colts team needs to be studied for one of the biggest fall off ever. But as the overall, you don't have to worry about not having a shutdown corner. You don't have to go and waste a high pick on it, because they're not going to have high picks to kind of throw at that position. They're in a real situation because of the Daniel Jones injury. So, but the overall thing of having Sauce take care of that problem over the next few years, I think is a smart move. I just think they overpaid a bit on it, and we're going to see if the Jets can reap the rewards of it.
Marvin?
Yeah, what's crazy for Sauce is when he got traded from the Jets were 1-7 and the Colts were 7-1. Since he's gotten after that, the Colts went 1-7 from the point that he got there. It was a tale of two halves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sauce Gardner was a first-round draft pick. He was a top 5 pick, I think, out of Cincinnati. Went to the Jets, and in his time in New York, he was a Pro Bowl player. He was an All-Pro. He got an extension. So all the positive things that could happen to a player going early in the first round to a team has happened for him in his career in regards to individual success. The unfortunate reality is the Jets are just trash. They're just trash. He's not the problem. He's definitely a good corner who has the opportunity to get better. And, that's what the Colts were trading for. They're trading for his immediate impact as a Pro Bowl corner. And, what he could do in the future as a young player. He's not even 25 yet, I don't think. So, the ownership group in Indianapolis is, I think, looking for a long-term answer at corner, which is a smart move. I like the move by the new young owner. I think she's doing a good job with that mentality. But unfortunately, Sauce got hurt. The Colts were out the playoffs. So now what it comes down to is, are they serious about keeping him on the roster long term? Because again, I do think that he's going to be a good player for whoever he's playing for, just given the success he's already had early in this league.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great point. The biggest thing I'm going to say out of the whole thing is this: regardless of what the result is after the fact, whether it gets hurt or not, the biggest thing I take away is you want to band-aid it or you want to fix it long term. Any general manager that has or owner that has a philosophy like that woman does, and she's new at that. I like where that woman's mind is at. I really do. I want to fix it long term and not band-aid it. And that's for somebody that's relative. Obviously, you learn from her dad, Jimmer, say it's not like she's walking into the job cold, but I truly respect that out of her. I really do. So with that said, let's talk about a trade that didn't happen. And in August of 2023, the Packers explored a trade for star running back Jonathan Taylor, but talks ended when the Colts asked for Christian Watson in return. As a result, it was a declined trade. Tommy, some thoughts?
Jonathan Taylor is he's the new Saquon Barkley. So the Packers had the right idea, and the Colts had the right idea to keep him.
Candy?
Oh, how I wish they had made that trade. Christian Watson cannot stay healthy. I'm sorry, he just can't. He's had injury problems. I would take Jonathan Taylor over him any day of the week.
Marvin?
If that was a straight up trade, player for player, I'm shocked that the Packers wouldn't take that. Jonathan Taylor is he's another player who's on pace to have a Hall of Fame career. He had a couple of injuries, but I mean, he looks good now. He's finishing this season pretty strong. This is a tough kid, man. I think he went to Wisconsin. He's from that area. Right. I mean, it's idiotic. I would trade Jonathan Taylor for pretty much any receiver in the NFL right now, just because of what he brings in the ground game. A lot of these teams, most of these teams don't have a lead back like that. They don't have a real dog playing running back, a guy who you can give the ball to 20 plus times a game, and he can help control the clock, control the offense, keep the defense honest. He's a game changer for his ability to be a back who could play all three downs and just run the ball tough in the middle with some speed. I think the Packers missed out on that. If that fell on the Packers and they denied that, that was dumb.
Yeah, I think so too. It makes you salivate one thing though, doesn't it? The fact that if you had Jonathan Taylor in the same backfield with Jordan Love, it kind of makes you wonder a little bit, doesn't it? So, yeah. But again, at that time they're talking Christian Watson. They didn't want to give up on this guy.
Who?
Exactly.
That's what he's saying, a who? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's how general managers think. I agree with you. But no, I salivate wondering what Jordan Love and Jonathan Taylor would be like in that backfield. Yes, he's a Wisconsin Badger, and all they do is produce running backs. So it's surreal stuff. It really is. Everybody get a piece of this action on here for this topic. Just want to make sure
Stephen.
All right, Stephen, go ahead. All right.
Basically, I agree with Candy. Like regardless of Watson being able to stay healthy or not, but if that's the reason they declined the trade, it is an idiotic one. We all remember, JT was trying to get his contract. He was willing to hold out. He wanted to be compensated for what he felt like he was worth in the market at that time. Colts didn't want to do it. They were entertaining the trades, and if that was one of the trades that was offered and the Packers turned it down, I think it's monumentally stupid. But at the end of the day, Colts wound up retaining their guy. Packers do make a trade with the Raiders to go get themselves a running back to be in a better situation. I think contract wise, I think they saved money, but yeah, JT's better than what they have right there, right now. At least in my opinion, nothing against Josh Jacobs in any way, but I think if you're asking me if I'm building a roster, do I want Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor? I'm taking Jonathan Taylor first. It's no disrespect, but if that's what stopped it, Candy, you better go out there and start with some pickets and start smacking some owners over the head, because that is something that's like letting the ball just slip through your hands right there. That would have been a deadly backfield, regardless of what's going on with Jordan Love and his injuries and things of that nature. I think they would have been ultimately in a better situation. But like I said, I think that it was more along the lines of making that trade and then having to sign them is kind of probably another reason why it didn't happen. But the what ifs in life.
Yeah, well, that's true, Stephen. You just said the last word. The what ifs is what it is. I still say, what if we would have had Jordan Love and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield? I'm still going to stick with it. All right, let's talk about the pros here. It was a tough day for the Detroit Lions versus the Minnesota Vikings. They had 8 turnovers heading into the game, and the 6 against the Vikings on that December 25th contest. Jared Goff had 197 yards passing versus 5 turnovers. Jahmyr Gibbs had 19 for 64 yards, a fumble loss, and a 23-10 loss. The Vikings beat the Lions with just, get this, 3 net passing yards and became the 3rd team in the past 40 seasons to win a game with fewer than 10 passing yards. That's, Tommy, those numbers are just tough to make up.
Yeah, both teams have had just baffling seasons. It was only a year ago they met in the last game of the regular season with 14-2 records. Then they've dropped off to this. So it just tells you how tough the NFL is, especially when you're talking about injuries impacting the season. Year-to-year success is difficult in the NFL.
Candy?
Yeah, this was a sloppy game. It was not a pretty game. Anytime you turn the ball over 6 times, I'm sorry, you do not even deserve to win. 6 times is just crazy. I mean, you think about it, Minnesota didn't turn the ball over at all. And with that, Dan Campbell and his I've got to go for it on fourth down. I don't trust my kicker. I don't trust my punter. I got to go for it. That doesn't always work either. And the Minnesota's defense came to play against the Lions, and I realize the Lions are very depleted because of injuries, but there are a lot of teams that can say the same thing this time of year, especially. So it was not a good showing for the Lions. I guess they miss Ben Johnson more than we all thought.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Bates is a heck of a quick kicker, and yes, they definitely missed Ben Johnson for sure. Steven?
Listen, as many turnovers that Jared Goff had in that game, I don't ever want to hear he's in an elite conversation for anything. Anything. That was absolutely putrid.
Yeah,
And it's I could be being overly hard on Jared Goff. I put more of that loss on him than I do anyone, because that's what it is in the NFL, right? You win and you're the quarterback. Doesn't matter what happens that you're praised for. But if you lose and have a performance like that, it absolutely falls on your shoulders. Yeah, he didn't cause all the turnovers, but at the same time, like, listen, you guys are a season away from 14-win, 15-win season, regardless of losing the coordinators or not, regardless of your head coach having his head so far in the clouds, he doesn't realize what he's doing. That all being said, that's not just a coaching thing, that's an execution thing, and it's a tough time for Detroit fans, but listen, Matthew Stafford shouldn't be on, or Matthew Stafford. Sorry, I was just looking at a comment, but Jared Goff shouldn't be on anybody's top 10 quarterback list. This time, when we get to the end of the season, beginning of next season.
Well, as the way he's been playing, I can't imagine that he probably will. Marvin?
Yeah, Candy said it. Detroit's offense has been a dumpster fire since Ben Johnson left. And you realize that he's the difference when you watch what Detroit's offense looks like and what Chicago's offense looks like. You know what I'm saying? He's the difference. Tom said it, man. A lot of parity in this league. This league is competitive. There are no easy games. Hey, I'm a fantasy football guy. The Minnesota Vikings had the number one defense in fantasy football this week, feasting off these boys. So, yeah, Detroit needs to figure that out. They didn't went from Ben Johnson to Dan Campbell, aka Bubba Gump, out here calling plays, and it's just not working out.
All right, I like those Bubba Gump. That's pretty good. Well, all right. Well, I got something Tommy should feel pretty good about, because it's going to line up with the Michigan State Spartans a little bit when it ultimately does. Washington head coach Jedd Fisch wasn't interested in the Michigan job. That went to Kyle Whittingham. More on that hiring next week. But a new era of college football in the state of Michigan. Now you're going to have MSU's Pat Fitzgerald versus Michigan Kyle Whittingham. Who would have imagined this? I wonder what Duffy, Doherty, Tommy, and Bo Schembechler are thinking about this. This is just unbelievable stuff, Tommy. You're going to have Pat Fitzgerald and Kyle Whittingham in that game for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. This was even thought of a year ago, Tommy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Michigan made a good hire.
How good of a hire it was? I'll tell you what, this guy here, Whittingham, is 177, 88, 21 years over with the Utah Utes. All right, continue about the good hire, Tommy.
Yeah, I love the Pat Fitzgerald hire at Michigan State. Kyle Whittingham was a great coach at Utah. And one thing that people don't one thing to give him credit for that people don't talk about is he was at Utah for what, 20 years? Close to 20 years?
Yeah.
21 years. He's a BYU graduate. And he had a chance to go back to BYU at about the middle of his Utah tenure, maybe even earlier than the middle. Right. And he stayed at Utah. He built something there. And he's 66 years old, so he's not too old to coach for a few more years. But he's he's not going to be around for 10 more years, I wouldn't think. But he's the perfect guy for the trouble Michigan faces because he knows how to build a program. He's a solid coach. He's not looking to be there for 10 years. A lot of the good coaches like Kalen DeBoer or Jed Fish, they might have been wary of going to Michigan because they don't have they have an interim president and they have an athletic director that's probably going to get fired. So you don't want to take a job with that unstable situation unless you're like Kyle Whittingham. You're 66. You've already proven yourself as a great coach, and you're going to have just this extra little run here at Michigan for 3, 4, maybe 5 years.
So let's go to the chat room real quick. I'll go to Eddie Prather. Is Brian Flores going to get another head coaching job? I have a feeling at some point he probably will. Somewhere along the lines, he's got to get one. He's heavily sought out DC, and I think he's going to make a lot of money. They're talking about Dallas and Jerry Jones, but we'll talk about that later. As far as his age is concerned, Joe Paterno coached in those 80s. A lot of these coaches are coaching into their mid-70s, so he may have a 5-year deal, but that could be a little bit longer. Kenny, I hope that answers your questions. Kenny, your thoughts about the thought of a Whittingham versus Pat Fitzgerald matchup in the middle of the season? Oh, my goodness.
Kudos to both teams because, let's face it, Michigan has had a history lately of hiring the wrong people, the wrong culture, and they need to turn it around. So Whittingham, yes, he is the winningest coach in Utes history with a 177-88 record. And he says he's got lots left in the tank. So he's ready to go. He wants to fire up. He wants to get the Wolverines back to the playoffs. That's our expectation. That's my expectation. Big Ten championships, obviously, get to the playoffs. But if you get to the 10-win mark, that's usually a pretty good indicator. So he wants to grow the program back to what he knows it can be. And as far as Fitzgerald, that's another good hire. So kudos to the state of Michigan for hiring two good coaches.
Yeah, Eddie Prather nailed it that Michigan needed a high character head coach, and that's a bullseye there. Okay, Stephen. All right, we'll turn over to Marvin. You can tell he doesn't follow them, but that's okay.
Yeah, listen, this was a home run hire for Michigan State. Pat Fitzgerald kept Northwestern relevant in a day and age where, they're getting like 2- and 3-star recruits, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And they're having 500 seasons. They're going to, I believe they went to some bowl games. I mean, they had a competitive team when he was there, and he was there for a long time. Definitely the biggest story is Kyle Whittingham, because as an SC alum who's familiar with the Utah program, Utah was tough. Utah was tough to beat. They were tough in the middle. I mean, they played outstanding football with 3-star recruits. And now you're going to give Kyle Whittingham, a guy who understands culture, understands toughness. You're going to give him the keys to the Michigan Wolverines and that, and that NIL bank account that they got over there. Listen, Michigan is about to make a run. I think that they're going to do something very Jim Harbaugh-ish, to be honest with you. It wouldn't shock me to see him win a national title there in the next 3 or 4 years. He's a real deal proven. He's a tough guy coach. He's like a real tough guy coach. He's not a fake tough guy coach. He's a real tough guy coach. And I can say the same thing about Pat Fitzgerald as well. 2 great hires for the Big Ten, no doubt about it. But definitely the bigger win is, in my opinion, going to be at Michigan, just because, again, I think they have a higher profile. I know Michigan State just got a pretty big NIL donation, but man, Michigan's about to be rolling.
Well, here's what you have now. Okay, what you have is this: Bryce Underwood was headed to the transfer portal. He really would have. He just wanted to see what this hire was, and now that he's got Whittingham, and I think they're probably talking about bringing his offensive coordinator. I think Tim Beck there, who led the Utes to 41 points a game. Now all of a sudden, Bryce Underwood is intrigued. And I'll tell you, he's a guy that can Whittingham will get him to the NFL. That's what makes this whole situation as interesting as it is. So, yeah, Eddie Prather, that Fitzgerald did a great job at Northwestern. He really did. So Michigan got the hire in at the right time in an effort to entice some of their players. So I think the portal opens up on Friday, if I understand correctly. I don't know. I'm almost certain it is from what I've read. You know what we're going to do is we're going to go to our first station break. Candy, go ahead.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved, old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show or be a guest on a show, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. But most importantly, if you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, it means you have not yet subscribed to us. I don't know what you're waiting for. You see the QR code in the top left. That is the link to our YouTube channel. Take a picture of it. It'll take you right to it. And then hit subscribe. Tell all your friends and family. We don't want you to miss any of our great programming. So turn on that notification button. And you'll be notified every time we go live. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Well, you know what? There have been more Popes than there have been Steeler head coaches since 1969. There's been Popes. There's been 6, and the Steelers have had 3 head coaches. You've had Chuck Noll, you've had Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. What are your thoughts about this one, Tommy?
Mike Tomlin is a great coach. I can't believe Steelers fans want him to be fired.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Would they have yelled to fire Chuck Noll or fire Bill Cowher? Tomlin, I don't think he really has that much talent to work with. He's getting the most out of it.
Right.
And then I think, the other thing is, in this day and age, after 10 years, sometimes a team wants to hear a different voice.
Right.
So Tomlin might be better off going off to a different franchise, but I don't think there's any question that Tomlin's a great coach. If I'd be surprised to see the Steelers fire him, but if they do, if Tomlin decided to step down and they do hire a new coach, Art Rooney II was the one who hired Tomlin. And the Steelers don't necessarily stay in-house. Bill Cowher was the defensive coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs when he got hired. Tomlin was the defensive coordinator at the Vikings when he got hired.
Right.
So if Rooney follows that magic, they're going to look around carefully for the right choice. They surprised everyone when they picked Tomlin. Art Rooney's 73 now. I don't know if he's still on top of his game like he used to be. Yeah, it's a sad commentary on Steeler fans that Tomlin is getting criticized.
Candy?
I've always said, if you're going to fire a coach that is as proven and has had the history that he has had, who are you? You better have a replacement in mind, because it's got to be someone that you think is going to do better. Because otherwise, why would you fire someone that's had the success that he has had? Yes, maybe he hasn't taken them and you haven't won a lot of Super Bowls lately. But how many? There's 32 teams. Not all the teams get in the playoffs. You've not had a losing season under him. Not one. And not many of us or any of our teams can say that same thing. So if you're going to get rid of Mike Tomlin, you better have somebody that you think will do a better job in play, and not just fire him because you think, oh, he's not doing as good of a job. Now, as far as having more hopes than coaches, well, I'm guessing they're both a very stressful job. So I don't know that I would be very good at either of those jobs.
Well, as far as the Pope is concerned, they usually hire them when they're later in age. So I don't know if they're stressful, but if they're hiring them later in the age, I can see where where they may die a little bit quicker. So I don't know the age of the Popes. Anything, but I just find it an intriguing number 6-3 Popes versus Steelers coaches. This is one of the few times you can connect sports and religion. 6-3. Stephen, do you want to even dare to take a stab at this one?
I mean, you gotta look at it. Noel, Cowher, Tomlin, all have been there over 20 years, right? I'm pretty sure Cowher was there almost 20 years, I think. So it's one of the rare things that you have coaches that have that longevity. The Pope aspect of it, I mean, look, they bring, when somebody's the Pope, he's like 72 when they bring him in. So I mean, not surprising they've gone through 6 while the Steelers are only going through 3 coaches. I do agree with Tom. For the Steelers fan base to basically be calling for Tomlin to be fired is ridiculous. I get it. Eddie made some great points. Like there is a time like where you've been at a place long enough. I think the Eagles kind of did the same thing with Andy Reid before we were finally able to get a championship. And I think that's what it is. It's been so long that since they've won a championship, let alone a playoff game, because I don't think they've won any playoff games, over the last handful of years, is probably what's kind of fueling this. But I mean, unless you have a real ready replacement that you think is going to work, we were just talking about, Brian Flores that down there in Minnesota. I mean, there's been some other names that I've heard that are going to hit the potential coaching market this offseason. For the Giants obviously is going to be in contention for one of them. If the Pittsburgh makes something silly like that happen, I guarantee you he's going to land one of those big coaching jobs in New York, something like that. And he's more than an X's and O's guy. He's a player's coach, and I think that's why he's had this longevity that he's had. So, I think if you're asking me, I say no. That they don't let him go. They don't let him resign, fire, whatever. But that's not a decision for us to make. That's the Pittsburgh front office to make. So we'll see what this offseason brings us. I think it could very well hinge on who wins the game between them and Baltimore this week on if he stays or if he goes. But I think what it is that they're a franchise that for the longest time they had the most Super Bowls in the NFL. That's not the case anymore over the last 20 years, right? They're wanting that February success that's been eluding them, over the past decade or so. So I would tell fans to relax, give another thing Tom mentioned. I think he is getting the most out of the guys that he have there that isn't that great. That they don't have a great offensive line. They haven't had a playing at quarterback, at least for the last 5 years. So, I think if you get him a young quarterback that can work within whatever the offensive coordinator wants to do, kind of like when they drafted Roethlisberger,
right.
He was a teens draft pick. He wasn't all there. So, he wasn't a top pick there. So do your due diligence in the draft. See if you can find somebody that way. Cause obviously, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the fountain of youth and he's probably not going to be back there next season.
Good points all the way around. And let alone the fact that you're right. I mean, when you look at Mike Tomlin, if he were to be let go tomorrow, he could get a job within 24, 48 hours, his one would be ringing off the hook. So if I were Pittsburgh, I think long and twice about letting him go, knowing full well that he'll land, he can get the job he wants. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these teams would fire their existing coach to get him if they felt they could get him. That's how good Mike Tomlin is.
I think the Raiders would fire Pete Carroll immediately.
Well, they may fire him anyway. I don't think he's going there. Not if he knows what's good for him. All right, Marvin.
This is just a reminder that football fans, the majority of fans, the large majority of fans who are so vocal and wear all their team gear, they have no idea what the hell they're talking about or looking at when they're dealing with NFL football. Mike Tomlin would be the hottest head coach free agent we've had in the last 10, 15 years if the Steelers let him go. All right. And Steve hit on it. The one thing that he's able to do that are tough for a lot of these coaches is connect with players and deal with players on a level where they respect him. Listen, Aaron Rodgers, he may be one of the most difficult people we've ever seen as a player, at least how the media portrays him. He ran to Pittsburgh. He's been great. Just his attitude, his demeanor, his interviews. He's been great. He's been a model citizen and a great teammate since he's been in Pittsburgh. You know why? Because Mike Tomlin controls the culture, is the culture, and has established a culture that players love, they thrive in, and they do well. In those, how many sports do you have where a head coach is there for damn near 2 decades and has never had a losing season? It's remarkable that he's been able to do that. You're right. If he became available, the Raiders, hopefully the Jets, and a lot of other teams would look for Mike Tomlin to be their head coach. This is a guy who spent 10 plus years playing in a division against Carson Palmer and Ocho Cinco and the Ravens. I mean, this guy has competed in a tough division for years and has always been competitive. So, and he's done it with players coming in and out, you know what I mean? And he's done it without having his Hall of Fame quarterback, Big Ben. So it is absolutely ridiculous that Steeler fans are saying this. If anything, the Steeler ownership group, I mean, they speak to continuity. They speak to real leadership. You know what I'm saying? They're not knee-jerk. They're not listening to the fans. They've had 3 coaches who are all going to be Hall of Fame coaches. That's remarkable. The fans should appreciate. It's unreal that there's any negative commentary about Mike Tomlin.
All right, now I got a topic for the ages, okay? And I mean ages, and I mean ages, okay? If you were to bring back a bowl game, which one would you bring back? You got the International Bowl in Toronto, Canada from 2007 to 2010, the Bluebonnet Bowl. In fact, I think they used to call it the Astro Bluebonnet Bowl in Houston from 1959 to 1987, California Raisin Bowl in Fresno, California from 1981 to 1991, the Seattle Bowl, Seattle, Washington, 2001, 2002, aka we'll just call it Seattle Pilots, okay, round 2, because it didn't last very long. Okay, the Poinsettia Bowl in San Diego, California, 1952 to 55, 2005 to 2016. Oh, here's an even better one than that. We got the Refrigerator Bowl, people, out in Evansville, Indiana, from 1948 to 1956. We have the Florida Beach Bowl. That was in Fort Lauderdale in 2023. They must have played it over, Candy, at where Inter Miami used to play, because I saw the pink seats. I don't know. That only lasted 1 year anyways in 2023. Then we have the Bacardi Bowl. That was in Havana, Cuba, people. Donald Trump wouldn't like that one. But then again, that was before his time. 1907, 1909, 1911 to 1912, 1921, 1936, 1946. And do you think we'll ever see a bowl game in Saudi Arabia in 10 years? Well, we talked about this before. So let's just pare it down to one thing, Tommy. Give me one bowl that you would like to see come back.
The Havana Bowl.
Havana. All right, Candy, give me one.
That would be good international relations. It might bring Cuba out of communism if we can get them hooked on American football. And then there'll be more Cubans playing baseball too in the major leagues.
Candy.
Oh man, let's bring back the Bacardi Bowl.
Okay. What about you, Marvin?
I'm brokenhearted for the people in San Diego who lost their Chargers. It's unbelievable, and I know why they did it. It's all about the money. I get that, but it's unbelievable that organization took off and left and went to LA. Let's bring some football back to San Diego. Is how I look at it now. Scott, I'll tell you this much: when you mentioned Trump, I thought to myself, if it's going to piss him off, let's go ahead and do it in Cuba. Let's go ahead and piss him off.
I knew it. And you know what? Before I go to Steven, okay, Steven, hang on. The debut of the Motor City Mad Mouth and the Marvin on the Mic show tomorrow here on the network around 6:30.
Tune in.
Tune us in. There's the logo. How you like that, Steven? As you can tell, I'm the one with the big mouth. My teeth are better there than what the ones I actually wear. And
did Candy turn you into a frog?
I don't know what that thing is. All I know is is that what I am? I don't know what it is.
That's what it looks like. It looks like a frog.
See, Marvin, you're wearing a bow tie. I hate ties.
Classy. I love it.
I know, that's classy.
Great job,
Candy.
Candy.
Big mouth with my mouth open. Again, another classic by the Candy Woman. All right, Steve, what ball game do you want to come back?
I'm going to go different with you. As you know, in my youth, I would have definitely said the Bacardi Bowl, just because Bacardi was kind of one of my alcohols of choices. But if I'm going anywhere, I'm going to give California some love. Give me the California Raisin Bowl back.
I like that. Okay. So I'm going to go with the Bluebonnet Bowl. That was a heck of a bowl game, and it lasted a long time. I was shocked that it actually went out of business. Bring it back. All right, so I will go to the other part of the question. In Saudi Arabia, will they get a bowl game in 10 years? We talked about it this year with the ACC, but this is a different situation. Tommy, in 10 years, let's get it real here.
Saudi Arabia Bowl? No, that'll never happen.
All right, Katie?
No, I don't think so. Not in 10 years.
Okay, Marvin?
I think y'all underestimate the power of that dollar and American greed. Again, we're being very naive about who we are as a country. Get money is the theme. It is what it is. Sports are huge. I just saw an article where the Saudis are looking to invest heavily into Michigan. Their NIL. I don't know how that's gonna play out. But if they want a bowl and they got the money, they're gonna get a bowl. Period.
Well, the reason why they would is because keep in mind that Dearborn, Michigan has a very large Arab population. So if the Saudis are going to get in there, then I can see why they would go to Michigan because of the Dearborn connection. That makes a little sense. Do I think that the Saudis will get one in 10 years? Now, listen, we're talking 10 years now. We're not talking this year they want to put the ACC team in there. I think it's possible in 10 years when if the NFL gets there first, then I could see college putting a bowl game, but that's a lot of TBDs connected. Steven?
I don't think it relies on any of that. I think Marvin's right. Listen, we're talking about in 10 years, right? Look at what's happened. Let just look at some of these other sports. Look what the UFC did in 25 years. They've conquered the international market on top of what they were already doing here in the United States. When they had their event in Abu Dhabi, it was one of the biggest events that they had. Now, obviously, the card didn't perform the way they wanted to, but they've been back there multiple times, and a lot of the times that's one of their events that they do get a lot of this money in. Don't underestimate the dollar. I do believe in 10 years we will be seeing more international college games and more international bowls as well. You gotta think when we're a lot of these colleges that 90% of the people that fill those colleges are from the United States, but we also have a very large international growth in that way, and I think they're going to continue to do that and grow the sports that way. So in 10 years, I do believe it. Bowl game, ACC game, whatever. You're going to see football over there just because of the simple fact that the money that they bring is crazy. I think it's crazy that people in the chat don't think this is a real possibility. You guys are so close-minded right now. Look at other sports. Look how it's going. It's a matter of time. It's not that it, I might be wrong, and maybe it takes 12 years, maybe it takes 15 years, but it is without that going to happen.
Steve, you're relative. It's not a sport; it's a business, and the business's number one obligation is to make money. I mean, it's just of course they're
And
going
we're
to have a
talking
bowl.
about one game. We're talking about one game. We're not talking about like having like 10 games a year over there. No, we're
Not
talking
yet,
about
at
one
least.
game a year. They could do that easily.
Well, yeah, I agree, Stephen. I'll get involved there. You're right. It is one game, and it's not a consistent amount of game. I mean, they can have a bowl game anywhere they want to. And yeah, Jordan Hargrove, it is about money. There's no question it's a money grab. I just think that when we talked about this a week ago about the ACC bowl game there, and going there where they look at it, the ACC kicked it away. They weren't ready for it then, Marvin. They really weren't. But now we're talking 10 years in the business part.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a couple of NFL games that stood out. The Green Bay Packers lost to the Baltimore Ravens 41-24. You know what? Here's what happened. Too much Derrick Henry, and that's what happened. For what, 4 touchdowns when he get like 200 yards rushing? Tommy, that was – I don't think it's so much on the Packers. What about what Baltimore did to Green Bay with Henry and company?
Yeah, that was an amazing performance by Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson, did he even play in the game?
No.
Yeah, he didn't
No.
play.
No.
So they relied on their big running back. The Packers' defensive line must be decimated that they ran over him. I didn't watch the game. But that's the more befuddling thing is that Lamar Jackson has been struggling. I know he's been injured, but there's been questions about his attitude and that they were able to dominate without him. I would have never guessed that. Lamar Jackson was the Baltimore Ravens offense. So that's a big surprise to me. I would have never predicted that.
Candy?
I know none of you would have predicted it. Let's face it, it was backup quarterback versus backup quarterback. And who would have thought in that game there was only one punt? So you're talking about both backup quarterbacks. Both of them did a good job. But yes, the Packers defense could not find an answer for Huntley. They've been bitten by the injury bug really bad as well. When you went to get Micah Parsons, and we all know he went down, that was a big hit for the Packers. And then I believe in this game we had 5 different players that went out with injuries. And I want to say at least 3 of them were on the defensive side. And when I say went out with injuries, I want to say 2 or 3 of them were season ending injuries, and one of them maybe even career ending. We don't know yet, but just decimated with injuries. It was kudos. You have to give kudos to Henry. He was running lights out. He had 3 touchdowns in the first half. They came to play and they ran it up and down, and we didn't have an answer for him. So, and on the flip side, we couldn't run the ball except for Malik Willis.
Right.
That was our running game, and that will never compete and compare. But yeah, it was a painful night in every respect for the Packers. We had safety Zane Anderson go down with an ankle, defensive lineman Jordan Riley with an Achilles, cornerback Kamal Hayden ankle were all carted into the locker room. Cornerback Nate Hobbs suffered a knee injury. Receiver Dayton, I can't even say his name, Wicks was evaluated for a concussion. And all that while Zach Tom was already sitting out, Williams was sitting out, Love was sitting out with concussion, and we know Micah Parsons. So it was just a lot of injuries to overcome, and our defense could not overcome one of the top running backs, in Henry. So painful night.
Steven?
Listen, I mean, they had everything to play for. If the Ravens didn't win that game, there is no battle for the division. They absolutely had to win that game. Yes, Lamar was out. Yes, there was players out, but let's talk about Derrick Henry for a second, because not only did he have that big game, he officially put himself 10th all time on the all time rushing list, and put himself 4th all time on rushing touchdown list. He had a game that was absolutely a stamp for him for this season. So I think we really need to appreciate what we're seeing out of Derrick Henry. Obviously, he was an absolute terror when he was in Tennessee, but he and let's also remember what happened the week before with Baltimore, where he didn't even get a carry, the last 15, 20 minutes of the prior game for whatever reason. So he came out there with a chip on his shoulder and absolutely, shredded the cheese on the Green Bay Packers.
Well, here's the thing I was telling Candy on Saturday. Number one, if I were the Packer, I wouldn't feel bad about losing this game. All you did was get beaten by a bulldozer, and that guy's name is Derrick Henry. I mean, this guy's a bulldozer. He bowled over him is what he did. He looked like Earl Campbell that night. Earl Campbell used to run over people, and Derrick Henry did exactly the same thing. Marvin, you have the last word on this game. We have one more game I want to talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll follow up with some of Candy's points. So I'm not surprised that Derrick Henry did what he did. I mean, that he had a historic night, obviously, but that's kind of who he is. Like he's his own beast mode, you know what I mean? And he was on that night. In regards to all these injuries, look, the human body was not made for the NFL. And there's really, I don't care how many weights, how much you lift and how strong you are and this and that. Man, the human body was not made for NFL football. It is a brutal game. You get at the end of the season, everybody's hurt. Everybody might be injured, but everybody has something that's bothering them. Every single person on the practice squad, the starters, the backups. I mean, there's too much physicality going on every single week for you not to have to it's something, and it's really tough. To me, the bigger story that I came out with, Malik Willis. I think he's somebody. I think this guy has a future. I didn't think that when he was at Tennessee. I was high on this guy when he came out of Liberty. He looked like trash at Tennessee, but I think the Packers, I think their head coach, I think that their offensive coaches have done a really good job with this kid. And I think he's going to have a chance to make some money in this league. But the Baltimore came out to play. Let's see what they do this week.
Yeah, I agree. Malik Willis is going to make a lot of money this offseason for sure. And I just love Derrick Henry. Next thing we're going to talk about Bears with the 49ers. San Fran with a 42-38 win. All right, let's go to Steven. What are your thoughts about how this one played out?
It was an old fashioned offensive slugfest. I mean, if you look at it, they were trading touchdown for touchdown until the Bears ran out of time on the potential to tie the game up there at the end. You give the Bears another 30 seconds or so, we may have gotten extra frames for that and seen what it would have had to have played out in overtime. So unfortunate for the Bears that you lose a tough game like that. But let's talk about the 49ers, man.
Yeah.
They lost all their offensive weapons outside of Christian McCaffrey this season. Deebo Samuel's gone. Brandon Ayuk, we don't know what's going on with that. Kittle's been in and out of the lineup all year. Even Brock Purdy's missed games. You lose Bosa on the other side. They've dealt with a litany of injuries, right? And yet they find themselves going into the last week of the season in a game against Seattle where they're going to be playing for the potential to have the number one seed and play at home potentially for the entire playoffs. You got to tip your caps to the 49ers for that, because with the injury that Brock had early in the season, missing a lot of their key players, no one would have thought that this division would have came down to the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks at the end of the season. We all thought it was what was it 2 weeks ago on the Thursday night game with the Rams in Seattle. So I mean, you got to tip your cap to San Francisco. It was a great game. Like I said, that's a good old heavyweight slugfest, and whoever had the most power win. Exactly. Rick just said it. The Super Bowl is going to be playing in Levi Stadium. So let's just say that the 49ers go on a run. They may be the first team to play every single one of their the postseason games in their home stadium. They have a very unique opportunity. So you have to give the 49ers credit right now.
Well, guess what? Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. He's the guy that's done a heck of a job with this group. All right, Marvin.
Yeah, I think Steve did a great job highlighting everything regarding San Fran. It's really been a remarkable year considering their injuries, and that speaks to leadership. That speaks to him and Lynch being able to get depth in there and have guys who can come in and get ready to play. Purdy, he was out this year and he's just been on fire. That guy, he continues to win me over with his confidence. I mean, he's out there having fun. He's out there,
Just to mention his name. I
and,
gave Rick I gave your credit. I said your comment in the chat, but it's all right, Rick. You still get your credit.
I think the bigger story to me is Ben Johnson and Caleb and these Bears. I mean, the Bears have been dead, for decades. They've been nothing. They've been irrelevant, and now these guys look like they have a real future. It's not fool's gold. You're seeing Caleb develop and really come into a player. And you see Ben Johnson and his magic. I mean, he's doing what he did with Jared Goff. You know what I'm saying? And I think Caleb has a higher ceiling. To me, the Bears are the bigger story here. And I think they're a team, an organization who you're going to have to deal with here for the next 10 years.
All right. Tommy and Candy, did you both comment on this one yet?
No.
Okay, you go ahead, Tom.
The 49ers won the game, but I think the story is that both of them showed they're ready for the playoffs to make a run they're legitimate playoff teams ready to make a run, peaking at the right time. The Bears had won 7 of 8 before they lost that game. And now the 49ers have won 7 of 8. So both of them are coming on so strong. They both showed they're ready for the playoffs. Both their quarterbacks showed they're ready. They both threw for 300 yards. So it was a fantastic game. And maybe, I don't know how the bracket's going to match up for the playoffs, but we may see a rematch down the road.
Candy?
Yeah, I have to give kudos to both teams. I mean, and I hate to say this because I'm not a Bears fan, but they have vastly improved. Ben Johnson has them playing really well. If you listen to Fire Up and you go to the beginning of the NFL season, Samir, one of my commentators, actually projected that the Bears were going to win the NFC North Division. A lot of us disagreed with him, but look where we are now. They definitely won the division. We'll see how far Ben Johnson can take them in the playoffs. But that game was a playoff caliber played game. And kudos to both teams.
See, Fire Up has been off the last 2 weeks because it can't do anything on Christmas and New Year's Day. Well, so be it. But Samir did good work. All I'll say is Ben Johnson, now they lost to the 49ers. Here's what's going to end up happening, okay? He gets the Detroit Lions, and he's mad. He got his tail kicked before. It's going to be a long day for the Lions at Soldier Field. All right. With that said, okay, Rick Diaz says, I hate the Bears too, Candy. Luckiest team in the NFL. The coach is full of himself. We will see what happens when he goes into playoffs. Well, guess what?
Come on, Rick. That's not
Yeah. But with all due respect, you could see this 49ers Bears thing in the NFC Championship game. It's possible you probably could.
Well, I don't hope that, but that's just me.
Well, all right. Well, just saying. I mean, I got to get Rick Diaz thoughts here, and you could see this matchup a little bit later on. So you never know.
Well, he thinks the Bears are lucky. Come on, man. Then that's not luck.
Yeah, they're lucky good,
who
man.
was lucky? The Commanders were lucky last season. They were lucky last season, and we've seen it this year that it absolutely was luck. When we're looking at this year's playoff picture, I don't see a lucky team. The only lucky team we're gonna see is the winner of the NFC North. Let's be honest about that. When you look at the rest of it, both of the wild card teams are going to have more than 10 wins. I don't even remember the last time that's happened over the past 10 years. It hasn't happened very often.
I don't know. That's pretty interesting. I mean, I'll tell you that division does change. It's hard to believe the Lions themselves are out of they only make the playoffs twice, and now all of a sudden Dan Campbell could be raiding the Bears staff to try to get his next. Here's a game that I'd like to watch out for. Don't be surprised if Eric Bieniemy ends up getting enticed by Dan Campbell to go over to Detroit as their new offensive coordinator. And the reason why I say that is because we all know Eric Bieniemy did a great job with Kansas City working with Holmes. It's just a feeling I have. If I'm right, somebody's got to say I was right. If I'm wrong, well, so what? I'm not in the business for that's the case anyway. So it is what it is. So let's talk about Labor Day, because in the eyes of Seahawks legend running back Sean Alexander, him and his wife have 14 kids. They welcomed their 14th child in September. Some thoughts, Stephen, about this one?
Get a vasectomy.
It has 14 kids. Wow. I wonder how big his house is. I mean, really. Sean, I hope you made a lot of money. And I don't know where you're going to put all these kids. We're talking kids. We're not talking cats. Marvin.
Yeah, that's a lot of kids, man. That's a lot of love right there, boy. That's a lot of meals. That's a lot. I'm thinking about this, the business side of this situation. You know what I'm saying? Summer camp, family vacations, going out to eat. That's rough. But if you blessed like that, man, and you know, and you done made some coin, and you have the ability to take care of these kids responsibly, which I'm sure he does, then hey, man, go out there and get number 15. That's your challenge.
All right, Candy.
14 kids. I feel bad for the wife, but caring for 14, you know, but 14 kids. Think about it. We just did Christmas. 14 kids you're buying gifts for, and 14 college educations. And at this point, what is a college education going to cost you if you just are having kids yet now? I just can't imagine. But 14 kids to help you when you're old and need help. So kudos to them. I would be broke and would need
right there. You're gonna need public assistance somewhere.
Yeah, food
I mean,
stamps.
you know how many
At least for us average people. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I don't know. Is Sean Alexander considered an average person? I don't even know.
Could you also imagine your medical expenses? With 14 kids, you have how many doctors? You have how many as they get older? You know, there's a lot to 14 kids.
You think, Tommy?
Yeah, 14 kids, and the oldest it said was a sophomore in high school. So what are you, 15?
Wow.
The mom's been pumping them out one a year. So, you know, there was an old Seinfeld episode.
You gotta tell Sean to stay off her, man.
There was an old Seinfeld episode where Ethel Kennedy was brought up. Jay Peterman was talking about Ethel Kennedy and what a great woman she was, and it was whatever it was they were talking about. Jay Peterman said her was only surpassed by her proclivity to procreate, and she only had 11 kids.
Is that all?
Alexander's gone 3 kids past that. So yeah, that's a staggering story.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up here, because it's a staggering show. The only thing I'll say about the whole thing is this, okay? You have 14 kids, albeit a few of them are probably way younger. You're pretty close to having a baseball team where you can at least fill up both teams, 9-9. If Mrs. Alexander has a few more and you got 18, you're 18 away from 9-9. Of course, forget the designated hitter. Let's just go by the old rules, 9-9. But that's still a lot. And of course, an NBA team, what is it, Marvin? When you have 15 or 16, so they're pretty close to that number as well. Yeah, you're right, Tommy. It is a staggering stat. You know what? I got a moment here for a quick Shanahan report, and hopefully Ben will get back on. So go ahead, Tommy. Slip one in for us.
Tom Shanahan report. I have a story up there today about how, and both these chapters are in my book, The Right Thing to Do. They're journalism failures by the sports media. In 1961, UCLA's 8 black players protested the idea of Alabama being invited to the Rose Bowl instead of the traditional Big Ten team. There had been a lapse in the contract between the Big Ten and what was then called the Pacific Coast Conference. And because of that lapse, the commissioner of what was called the Athletic Associations of Western Universities, there were only 5 schools, had the sole power to pick the opponent for the Rose Bowl. And guess who? His name was Tom Hamilton, U.S. Navy Admiral, World War II. Guess who his World War II buddy was? Bear Bryant. So Alabama, from Bryant and Hamilton were scheming to go into the Rose Bowl, and it would have worked if not for the UCLA players protesting. However, the media ignored it. The only guy to write about it was Jim Murray. When Jim Murray wrote about how the UCLA players were threatening to boycott and the UCLA students were threatening to have a protest outside the Rose Bowl. Remember, this is 1961. This is before Black students were organized on campus, more towards the late 60s. So it's a remarkable story. And the media not only missed it, they blamed Jim Murray. They accepted Bear Bryant's narrative that Jim Murray cost them a chance to coach in the Rose Bowl. Only Bear Bryant could turn Jim Murray into a villain. So it's a ridiculous story. The sports journalism has gotten it all wrong. In real time, back in 61, they still get it wrong because last year or 2 years ago, I should say, when Alabama played Michigan in the Rose Bowl, they did weepy-eyed stories about how Bear Bryant didn't get a chance to coach in the Rose Bowl. But the other story from 1961, the sports media missed, was the Orange Bowl of 1962. Colorado only had 5 black players, but their team was going to boycott the Orange Bowl unless something was done about Jim Crow, because they wanted their 5 black players to stay with them in the hotel, eat in the restaurants, travel on the same buses, and the Orange Bowl backed down. Not a thing was been written about it in the sports media in 1961. They still don't write about it. Both chapters are in my book, The Right Thing to Do. And I have a story out on my website, tomshanahan.report.
Great stuff. Glad we can get that one in there. So 2 more topics to go, including our future one, which we'll save for the
touch on
very
Rick's
end.
comment. I like that one.
There you go. That one up. Okay. Top 3 coaches in the NFL playoffs. All right, go ahead. Who wants this? Who wants to go ahead and start with that one?
I mean, let's start. I'm going to go with Sirianni, obviously. I think, we were just talking about the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan that definitely has to be in there. And, we'll see if Tomlin or Harbaugh goes in there. But, I mean, I don't think we can count out Sean Payton in the Denver Broncos either. So I think you got a few from both conferences that you could say are the top 3 coaches in the playoffs right now. But, as of right now, Peyton and Sirianni are the only ones that are actively in the playoffs right now that have won Super Bowls in the last 10 years.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, you got to go Sean Payton, number 1. Just look at what he's done in Denver. Look at his record in New Orleans as an assistant. This guy, he knows how to run a program, and he has to be. To me, they're the team no one's really talking about enough. Is Denver and Sean Payton. They've had some up and downs here with Bo Nix recently, but still, you look at where they are now versus the whole Russell Wilson fiasco. Man, Sean Payton's leading this team and doing a great job at it.
Candy?
Yeah, but you also have to give kudos to, and I'm not saying they're the top coaches, but you also have to give kudos to the 2 that are new and bringing their teams in. Ben Johnson and bringing the Bears in, and Liam Cohen, what he's doing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know that we would have thought either team would be making the playoffs at the start of the year, but yet they're both going in with guns a-blazing.
All right, let's continue on here. That was a good topic. I'm glad we brought that one up. All right. Well, let's talk about the first rookie. When we talk about rookie quarterbacks, who that come to mind is first-round rookie quarterbacks have lost their head coaches this season. Cam Ward loses Brian Callahan, after a 1-5 start. And obviously number 25, Jackson Dart and Brian Daboll, a result of 2-8 start. Tommy, pretty sad when you have the number one, when you have top round picks losing their coaches the first year.
Yeah, that's interesting that they both coaches got fired. It's kind of hard to grade Cam Ward because the team is so bad, right. But Jackson Dart obviously had his moments. We'll see how those guys develop. Let's hope they can not only hire a good head coach, but a good quarterback coach to work with them, offensive coordinator.
Candy.
We talked about how when Lawrence came out his first year and how he had Urban Meyer and how that was a fiasco. And look at how long it's taken him to develop into the better quarterback that he is now. He had Urban Meyer, he's had Doug Peterson, and it's just interesting. Marvin's said this numerous times on the show. College game plays at a different tempo that the NFL does. And for you to step off the college field and right onto the NFL field and think you're going to get instant success doesn't happen. It takes work. It takes a good coach. It takes consistency in the coaching ranks. And for both of these young quarterbacks to have changes, albeit the reason why they were picked in the first round is because they went to bad teams. Maybe the best thing is a change in the coaching, but it doesn't help in their development in their first year.
Steven?
Listen, this is something we've talked about a lot, like not just on this show and other programs with other panel members, but listen, when obviously you're picking high in the first round, it is a bad organization, but it's the same thing we go like when you draft the quarterback, you have to have the stability in place to protect them long term to make sure that you're getting the most out of this potential investment that whether it's a high first round pick, a mid first round or late first round, you need to have that continuity with them. Can't be sitting there, barely a year in, you throw out their coach, or halfway through year 1.5, you fire the head coach, and then where do you leave these quarterbacks? And I think is one of the things that we talk about a lot is I think the quarterback development is severely suffering in the NFL over the last 10 years. And I think this overturn at the coordinators at the head coaching level is a main reason for it. It's not necessarily these guys are bad. Marvin knows this. Sam Darnold, look what he's done since he left New York. In 2 different years with 2 different teams, he's won 10+ games. I don't even remember the last time that's happened. When you consider what he was thought of when he left New York is that he's going to be a journeyman, right? So it's one of these things that you have to have a continuity in place. Like I just sat there. I think Eddie Prather was talking about the job Kellen Moore's done. They better give him more than 2 seasons. Because he inherited absolute dog garbage of a roster. There's one guy on each side of the ball that you could have good things to say about it. The rest of it, no one could pick them at walking across somebody at the airport to know that they were even a part of a football team. You have to protect these kids. They have to have at least a semi-decent offensive line and some type of plan from the head coach and the front office. And everyone who sits there and complains, like we talk about what happened with Eli Manning, when he went in the draft, he didn't want anything to do with San Diego. We talk about how when we talk about last year's draft, how Deion wanted Shedeur to go to a few places. He didn't want him to go here. Who do you get to say on where you get drafted? I don't want you ruining my career. I don't want you running this kid in the ground. As Marvin was sitting there saying, our bodies aren't made for playing the NFL. You're going to break down at some point in time. So give these guys a fighting chance. Don't
Right.
be sitting there tying one arm behind their back, firing their coaches 4 games in the season, 6 games in the season, just about the end of the season, because then you're starting all over again. They're going to have to learn a new offense. They're going to have to figure out how to work it. Like, there's so many different things that go. You have to have a better plan than what the NFL is throwing a lot of these kids to the wolves. Sometimes some of these kids have to be put in that, like, I mean, you know, we talk about Jalen Hurts, 7 different coordinators in the last 7 years of being a football player. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But he's found the way to make it work. So at the same time, you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to.
Okay. Marvin, you have the last word. They're going to go rapid fire on our final topic. Go ahead, Marvin.
Absolutely. Listen, before I get started, shout out to my cousin Earl, who's always showing us love, and his daughter Jasmine, who watch us religiously. Very happy and love their support.
Okay.
Listen, with these quarterbacks, more teams fail the quarterback than the quarterback fails himself. That's not even a question. It is so unfortunate that you get these young, talented guys that come out of college. They go to these horrible organizations, and there's no plan in place. You know, it's like, I mean, Steve really, he hit all the major points. There's no real plan in place, man. And then in the end, we call the quarterback a bust, and it's on him, and they become a journeyman, and it's just, and I swear to you, it's more about these organizations just not having a plan. Listen, it's a tough situation. I have no more to say. I think Steve really hit it pretty good there.
Yeah, I don't like the word bust. I really hate it, especially when you have coaches getting fired their first year or really early in their career. So the word bust makes me sick. It really does. Worse than my cooking and my penmanship. But yet I managed to get it alone. I don't worry about the cooking because I have Candy that helps me out there. Penmanship, there's no help there. That's why I go out there and manufacture a way to type it in. All right. Final topic tonight happens to be our.
I want to just quick add. I like the way that Green Bay has done that, because Green Bay has sat the quarterbacks that they have drafted and let them observe behind the good quarterbacks that they've had in the past.
Well, they're one of the few organizations that gets it right in that department, that's for sure. All right, rapid fire. Our featured topic of the night is, and this is actually a LeBron James thing. I love the NFL, but Christmas is our day. LeBron James, the NFL is stealing Christmas from the NBA. Which would you watch on Christmas, Tommy, the NBA or NFL?
I'm going to give you a little history lesson. It shows you how much cable TV has changed our culture, because there was a famous game in 1971, Miami Dolphins, Kansas City Chiefs. It was played on Christmas Day, double overtime, 22 minutes, full 15-minute quarter, and then it wasn't decided until 7 minutes into the second quarter. And, 22 minutes, that's probably a good hour. Back then, people had their Christmas dinner plans all set. They didn't have an NFL football game going into double overtime and interrupting. And a lot of wives and husbands got in fights about when they were going to serve dinner. And Pete Rozelle ended up having to apologize, and the NFL didn't schedule Christmas Day games for a long time. Now, because of cable TV, our society isn't built around when the Christmas dinner is served. It's built around when the football game or the basketball game starts. So I think it was Charles Barkley that also said the NFL got greedy and they've invaded our game.
I saw that too. I was going to bring that up next week, but okay, you let the cat out of the bag.
So, so LeBron or Charles, I like what they have to say.
All right, so which one will you pick, Tommy? You're dodging the question. You want the NBA or the NFL on Christmas?
I don't watch the NBA games hardly at all anyways, so I'll say NFL. But the NFL games on Christmas were no good, and I didn't watch them either.
Well, don't get me started there, because Netflix is another animal, and we'll leave it at that. Okay,
yeah,
Candy.
they weren't even available. That's right.
Exactly. That's my point. All right, Candy, make it quick.
For
NFL,
NBA. For me, any day of the week, NFL.
Marvin?
I don't want to see these guys throw up threes all day long. The NBA's turned to trash as a whole. Give me football all day long.
Great minds think alike, Marvin. I'm the same way. All right, that's my answer. That's his. Steven, you have the final word. Then we go to our
listen,
final station break.
I know Charles is upset. I know LeBron's doing his favorite thing and crying about things. But listen, your product as a whole is on this steep downcline, right? So yes, I think we're all going to be in agreement here that the NFL is what people would rather tune into. They have multiple different games throughout the day, and with the exception of this past year, just how everything worked out, because you had a complete flip on things, is I think this is the first time that the games weren't really relevant into what the playoff picture was going to look like. So over the past few years where the NFL has taken it over, this is the first one where it really didn't matter, and not a whole lot of people tuned in as they normally did. But they've absolutely stolen the game from the NBA. There's no real superstars in the NBA that people really identify with, and I think that's the bigger problem that the NBA needs to figure out. They need to figure out a post LeBron plan right now, or the NFL is going to continue to keep kicking them in the teeth.
Okay, good. So to answer my question, NBA or NFL?
NFL.
One or the other.
Long. I said NFL.
Okay, now you said it again. I heard it better. Okay. All right, I'll take NFL. That's that. Okay. All right, Tommy, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
TomShanahan.report is my website. My Twitter handle is Shanny4055.
All right, Candy, one more station break.
Before I do that, I want to just wish Mr. Scott, our host here, a belated happy birthday. It was his birthday yesterday, so happy belated birthday, Scott.
Thank you, Candy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. With that being said, the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth birthday boy, Morganroth. He wrote it about his 40 plus years in the business, how it has evolved, old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to subscribe to our great programming, there's the QR code. Go take your picture. It'll link you right to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button and then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Back to you, Scott.
All right, I agree with the comment in the chat room. Adam Silver needs to go. All right, with that said, turn it over to Marvin.
Yeah, let me jump on that. Again, Scott, happy belated birthday. You are the head coach of this team. You're a great head coach at that. We should have added your name to this list earlier on. But you can catch me. Listen, I'm South Florida Tribune all the way. I'm on so many shows. I'm so thankful, Scott. And listen, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're doing stuff on Saturday. We're doing a roundtable. A lot of activity going on. Please tune into the South Florida Tribune for everything. Marvin Powell and Marvin on the mic.
You may cost me a South Florida Tribune hat the way you keep talking, Candy. We might have to go over there and get him one as well, and get one for Steve.
What about mine? Well. I'm always wearing hats.
I heard you. Let me finish. I was going to get you one too.
Never. I have to interrupt you. Damn it.
I know you do, and you do a good job. We'll get you one too, Sister Man. No problem. Hey, I get a bigger discount with two than I do one, Sister Man. We'll get you both one. Don't worry, Tommy. We'll figure something out for you, man. Don't worry. In fact, I got to get that picture of him and I together. We'll put it out there. He's like a giraffe compared to me, this guy. All right, so go ahead, Steven. I like what you do.
Yeah, man. We'll obviously, real easy to find me. Just type in the name Steven Rochelle. Real easy to find me on Facebook, Instagram. The handle right underneath my name there is where you can find me on TikTok, on X, on YouTube. As Rick was saying, when's the next show? Obviously, we're the Inside the Pigskin is always right back here every Tuesday from 8:30 to 10:30. Me, Marvin, and Ben will be on tomorrow morning. Obviously, if you missed the announcement earlier, Marvin and Scott's new show will be tomorrow afternoon. You know, we're doing a lot of fun programming on there. I actually have 2 different interviews. This Sunday I got one at 11 a.m., one at 2 p.m. Going to be talking to a newly signed BKFC female fighter, and I have a friend of mine that I haven't seen in a few years. He unfortunately found himself in jail, but he's a combat sports fighter. He wants to kind of tell his story, share his trials and tribulations, hopefully educate some people on some things. So we have a lot of stuff going here on the network, not just Inside the Pigskin, not just all the stuff that we're doing. We all are having our own little twist on things, whether it be Thursdays with the Fired Up with Candy and her group of knuckleheads. We always have some type of uniqueness to our programming. We like to keep it fun. When we get idiots in the chat rooms, we always take care of them in our own flair and style. So make sure you guys are locked in for all of it. Smash that subscribe button, regardless of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever it happens to be. Make sure you're heading over to the website, checking out the articles from all our great writers. Show us love on all the platforms, my friends. You're not going to want to miss what we got in store for you in 2026.
Hey, Marvin, I trained him pretty good. If he could get all that stuff out there, that was good stuff.
Man. Hey, Steve's the man.
I got a team that they all listen. They don't tune me out like some of these players tune out some of these coaches. My teammates, they get it all in, man. Right, Tommy? I don't lose my voice when I got these guys doing my work for me. Great stuff. All right, good job, Reichel. Now I guess Candy, maybe later on we're gonna have to get. Marvin, we got to get him a Tribune hat. We got to get him one. Then again, it's okay. And Tommy, you want one too? I'm sure we could get you a Tribune cap.
Sure, sounds good.
All right, we got 3 of them on our best. So, all right, Earl. Yeah, I appreciate you getting more followers for us. Candy will get out there and get the hats at some point. But at least we got Marvin, his other one, ahead of his schedule here. But meanwhile, that does it for this edition of Inside the Pigskin. Marvin and I will debut our new show tomorrow around 6:30 Eastern time. And then, of course, we'll have the Sports Exchange abbreviated version. I don't know what we're going to have tomorrow night, who's left with New Year's Rockin' Eve. And, of course, we'll have a full schedule of shows on next week. Of course, Inside the Pigskin on Saturday ought to be interesting. I'm hoping to have Ben Troop on there, and Mel will hopefully get back in business. So, meanwhile, on behalf of Tom Shanahan and Ben Troop for a little while anyway, and Candy Ebling, Marvin Paul III, and Steve Reichel, my name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us. Earl Kinsey was a standout in the chat room, and so was Eddie Prather, and all the other ones are participating. Thank you very much, everybody. See you tomorrow. Good night. Bye now.